Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
Right.
The Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from here. I think she has a major problem.
Your sister, your half-sister, has just lost her $100 million Netflix contract. What do you think?
Meghan, off.
What's the title of her show? Love Meghan. For what? To watch? Who wants to watch Meghan Markle bake a pie?
I'm gonna miss their latent fear in interacting with her, that they say something wrong, like call her Meghan Markle instead of it's Sussex now, and just her latent anger underneath every interaction.
My name is Megan Sussex now. Call me Meghan Markle one more time, Mindy f***ing Kaling.
Before anyone said the word cancelled, something far more dangerous happened. Nothing. No outrage, no backlash, no viral defenses. When Meghan's Netflix project quietly slipped from conversation, industry watchers noticed something unsettling. Not falling numbers, not bad press, but a sudden absence of urgency.
I don't think anybody at Netflix could have seen the show before it went out, because it's not entertainment, it's not edifying in any way. It's really bizarre.
As if the platform itself no longer knew how to explain why the show existed beyond the contract that made it unavoidable. That's where this story actually begins. Not with critics tearing it apart, not with trolls celebrating, but with Netflix emotionally clocking out.
Everything she touches turns to shit. And I think every sort of creative person behind her or deep pocket behind her knows it's an extraordinary risk. She's too toxic to touch.
At the same time, royal biographer Tom Bower stepped back into the frame, and instead of accusing Meghan of lying or exaggerating, he made a far more uncomfortable claim. One that reframed everything people thought they were reacting to. According to Bower, the issue wasn't truth. It was timing. Emotional timing. Frequency, fatigue, and while that quiet disengagement was unfolding behind closed doors, Prince Harry was unraveling somewhere no one expected, a courtroom.
And to hear them claim in their defense that I don't have any right to privacy is disgusting. They have made my wife's life an absolute misery, my lord.
Not arguing facts, not arguing law, but reliving history in real time, as if years of unresolved grievance had finally found a microphone that couldn't cut away. That's when the narrative fractured. Because this was never just about a show or a lawsuit or even public sympathy. It was about what happens when vulnerability feels curated, when relevance fades administratively, and when a story loses control of its own framing.
Why? Why are you doing this? Why are you demeaning yourself in this fashion? Because Meghan has hired a house which is supposedly worth between £5 million and £10 million. And she's got her famous friends, except of course none of us will have heard of her famous friends, so they're not that famous friends. And she's giving all these really bizarre and quite cryptic guides on how to be the perfect hostess.
The first warning sign wasn't a headline. It was what didn't happen after release. No second wave promotion. No executive quotes defending the vision. No sudden push across the homepage. Inside streaming platforms, failure rarely announces itself loudly. It drifts. Projects that spark belief get protected. They're reframed, re-edited, reintroduced. This one wasn't. The energy around it cooled almost immediately, as if enthusiasm had been spent before the audience ever arrived.
Well, I think it was inevitable, and I've seen this coming for a long time based on the very few times that I actually watched 5 minutes of 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 episodes, and it just struck me as completely empty, completely fake, and I knew it was only a matter of time before this would happen.
What unsettled industry insiders wasn't whether people liked the show, it was how quickly internal conversations shifted away from it. Meetings moved on. Talking points disappeared. The project became something no one volunteered to explain. That's not cancellation. That's disengagement. And disengagement happens when a platform realizes it can't answer a simple question anymore. Who is this for right now? The show didn't offend. It didn't shock. It didn't collapse under backlash. Instead, it landed at an emotional temperature that didn't match the moment it entered.
Just because you marry a prince doesn't mean you can become a lifestyle guru. She really thought in a way she could just sort of, rock up and become the new Martha Stewart. And the problem is she's inauthentic, and people have to like you to want to go into your TV kitchen or your mate's kitchen or whatever it is.
Viewers weren't angry enough to argue. They weren't moved enough to defend it. So they did the one thing algorithms can't fight. They scrolled. For a company built on retention, that reaction is fatal because indifference offers no data to optimize against. No controversy to ride, no momentum to redirect, just a flat line. And when that happens, platforms don't pull plugs dramatically. They pause, they delay, they stop asking what's next, which is exactly when the real problem begins. Because once a system stops needing you to explain your work, it has already moved on.
People aren't watching it. I mean, it's an effort to watch a single episode because each episode is 40 minutes long, and you've got to have a lot more interest in Meghan Sussex.
This is where Tom Bauer changes the temperature of the conversation. He doesn't question facts. He doesn't accuse deception. He doesn't even challenge intent. Instead, he suggests something far more destabilizing. The message arrived out of sync. Bauer's argument isn't that the emotions were manufactured. It's that they were delivered with the precision of a performance, not the unpredictability of lived experience. Viewers didn't ask whether the feelings were real. They asked why they were being presented this way.
What mother or father in the name of sweet Jesus has enough time to create a fruit plate at 6 o'clock on a Monday morning when there's toast throwing around the room? And her kitchen was just sterile and awful, and I hate her. I'm so sorry, I really do.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
At this exact moment with this level of polish. And that subtle shift matters because authenticity isn't measured by honesty alone. It's measured by friction, by hesitation, by moments that feel unscripted and unresolved. When vulnerability arrives too cleanly, too evenly paced, audiences instinctively pull back, not in anger, in doubt. The stories didn't breathe. They arrived fully framed, emotionally resolved, and carefully contextualized. Nothing was left unfinished for the audience to sit with. And when everything is explained, nothing lingers.
What Meghan never really understood, probably not even now, is that when she was cheered as a working royal, it wasn't because she was Meghan Markle, it was because she represented British royalty and all the values of the Queen and all the tradition and 1,000 years of history.
Bauer's framing quietly reframed the entire reaction. What people felt wasn't betrayal. It was exhaustion. A sense that they were being asked to emotionally participate in something that had already been processed, edited, and positioned for them. That's when sincerity begins to feel instructional. And once vulnerability starts sounding like a thesis instead of a confession, the connection weakens fast, not because the story is untrue, but because it no longer feels discovered. And that emotional distance would soon expose a much deeper contradiction, one the cameras never addressed. And what Tom Bauer said really hit me. Look, I'm not saying their emotions were fake, but the presentation that became the problem. It's like seeing perfectly curated sadness on Instagram. It's real, but it's also controlled. And audiences can feel that difference. We've all been there, right? When something feels too polished to be spontaneous, the turning point wasn't a scene that aired. It was a reality that didn't.
The other Meghan Markle, with Love Meghan, her show, your show's doing great. Her show was canceled. She said it was just a lot of work to do. What will you miss? What will you miss most about the show? Because I know you watched religiously.
I think it's going to be the terrified friends who, come in and they have to pretend that they all know each other really well and that she knows them really well. Like Daniel, the makeup artist, who clearly she doesn't know it all. He knows all her BS, but she doesn't know anything about him. He's been on a couple episodes and then it finally she'll be like, oh, do you have a boyfriend or do you have kids? It's like, these are things you would know if this were actually your friend.
While the show emphasized warmth, reflection, and emotional clarity, viewers began noticing a quiet disconnect between what was being expressed on screen and what remained untouched off it. Not as accusation, as absence. A space left unacknowledged that grew louder with every carefully framed moment. No interruption of production, no visible reconciliation, no pause to address the fracture everyone already knew existed. That omission mattered more than any line of dialogue. For many watching, it subtly reshaped the tone of everything that came before. The storytelling began to feel segmented. Emotion placed into safe compartments. Vulnerability curated where it could be controlled.
Here comes the first time in her life that Meghan Markle actually touches food. Let's watch that back. Why is she pushing apples into the salad? Oh dear, even her hands can't do acting.
While more uncomfortable realities stayed sealed off camera, this wasn't read as cruelty. It was read as emotional management. And that distinction changed the lens entirely. Audiences don't expect full transparency. They understand boundaries. But when a narrative promises intimacy while avoiding its most destabilizing tension, trust erodes quietly. The contrast becomes impossible to ignore, not because viewers demand explanations, but because the silence reframes intent. What once felt reflective started to feel selective, not manipulative, strategic, and public perception doesn't wait for nuance. It doesn't pause for context or private complexity. It reacts to contrast, to what's offered versus what's withheld.